Okay, so our next guest is someone I've been super excited to speak to. He has recently completed an insane challenge. He was on one of the longest long-haul flights in the world, stepped off the plane, and then completed a 100K ultra marathon. Welcome to the show, Aaron.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Nick. Yeah, that does sound a little bit crazy, doesn't it? But yeah, no, I appreciate you having me on. But that challenge was something pretty crazy, but it was obviously for a really good cause as well. And yeah, being a customer service manager at Qantas here in the UK, I managed to operate a flight from Perth, where the flight was 16 and a half hours, and landed Saturday morning at about 5 a.m. And as you say, I made my way out to the start line for a 100K ultra marathon from London to Brighton. And yeah, it definitely tested me physically, mentally, and a bit of sleep deprivation there. But I think the benefits and the cause was probably the most important thing. So it was a long 2 days, I would say. Yeah.
So tell me, how much sleep do you actually get on a long-haul flight when you're working?
Well, it depends what happens on the flight. On that day, we split the breaks up. So half of us, I think, on the day had 4 hours 50 each. So I split the breaks 1 hour 50, 3 hours. So we had two separate breaks. Slept really well on the 1 hour 50, and then we had a bit of turbulence after that. And a few of my customers decided that they weren't feeling so well, and out came the sick bags, and so my second round of sleep got disrupted a bit. And I was grateful I had a really good team that were able to manage that while I was meant to be on break. But at the same time, these sort of things are going through your mind when you're in your bunk, that people aren't well and should I be down there? So I'd say I probably had 2 hours sleep on throughout the flight.
So is that something, the long haul flights, is that something you get more conditioned to the more you do it over time, or is that just always going to be tough for?
Yeah, I mean, it's always tough. It really depends on the day. Like, I've been flying now 16 hours, which is probably why I like 16 years. I did say it's 16 hours. Yeah, I think my body's really conditioned to it, and you kind of find ways of how you can sleep, whether it's wearing a sleep mask, earplugs. Some of the crew have little sleep sprays and things like that. As I mentioned before, it really depends on what happens on the day. Being the customer service manager, I have a few more responsibilities. So if the flight goes smoothly, generally I'll sleep pretty well. If there's things going on, generally they play on your mind a little bit. So, but I'm used to it. So as I said, I've been doing it 16 years.
Yeah. So why then work like that and then run 100Ks?
Yeah, that was actually the biggest question. People ask me, when I explain the challenge, the first question, the one and only thing that people ask me was why. I ran this race last year and I raised money for Mind charity. This year I decided to run for Mind again, but not raise money because I was conscious of the cost of living. I was able to make a video with a videographer where we were able to continue to bring awareness to mental health and mental health. So the challenge in itself, I thought, okay, what is it going to give me? And how can I help other people? And it really gave me that physical challenge because my legs were really sore. They generally first flight. So that's the physical challenge. No, I wasn't worried about that. That's something that I can manage throughout races. It was more the mental challenge, the sleep deprivation, in particular sleep deprivation, where I've never experienced that within races. So that brings a whole new mental challenges, the negative thoughts that creep in, and I can't do this, I can't do that. I'm tired, I'm not feeling great. And being able to push through that and just remind yourself, I'm still moving forward. Yes, my legs are sore. I haven't started seeing flying unicorns or anything yet. So you're good. And just seeing where the body and the mind can take you to was one of my motivations that sat alongside bringing awareness to better mental health.
So you've been doing endurance for a while by the sounds. Why did you start doing endurance events over other sports or other things you could have been doing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm 39 now, and I think it's what I've found actually, it's really common for men in my age bracket, mid to late 30s, even early 40s, that who have played sport. I believe you played rugby yourself. So for me, my whole life it was basketball. And having played those team sports from when I was a kid, and I stopped playing basketball here for Brighton Cougars. Maybe just played one season after COVID, and then I enjoy the gym. But you don't get the same satisfaction from that. So whether it was finding a team sport or something else, I've always enjoyed running. So I actually just entered a trail race. I think it was like 20 kilometers or something. And then from there, that fueled my passion for running again. And in particular, trail running, starting at those 20Ks, kind of led into the 30, 40, eventually ultra marathons, and now into a lot of triathlons. I see a lot of guys my age that have just started in triathlons, having played professional sport or played at a lower level. I was never a professional myself, but I just felt like it gives me purpose. I needed that in my life.
Well, tell us, how did you go about it in terms of finding the right people or the right information, or did you just start?
Yeah, I mean, it all led to just searching online and finding a run to begin with. And then obviously my neighbour, I saw him over the balcony here, and he was washing his bike one day, and I was like, oh, okay, he must be doing a triathlon or something. And he's like, yeah, I've got a triathlon coming up in 3 months in Brighton. So that's kind of, you just see and hear and learn from other people. But in particular, where I learned a lot of my stuff is kind of another road that I've gone down is YouTube. We go to YouTube for quite a lot of information in terms of how to train for how to run longer without getting tired, how to train for a triathlon. And I'm kind of blessed in a way, like I work with Qantas, and also during COVID I worked in learning and development. So I dabbled a little bit in video editing. So that kind of led me on a path to where I had a coach as well. I had all these learning from my coach, and I had this experience from video editing. And I thought, why can't I combine it and put it together? So I learned from other people, and I've now started my channel where I'm helping those people that were in my position maybe a couple of years ago. Because that's really important to me, is paying it back, because not everyone out there can afford a coach, for example. So if I can share some of my knowledge, I'd say YouTube is probably one of the places I go to most. And I'm fortunate. I'm in a fortunate position where I can share that knowledge and pass on to others in the hope that I can inspire someone, because that's why, going back to what you asked me before, for me it's all about just helping others and inspiring others. And I know that sounds cheesy and they sound important, but they genuinely, like, I get a kick out of like, he's doing it. It's my, I'm his number one supporter. So yeah, that's kind of where I get my info from, and you just learn from others. That's um, the most important thing, is to always demonstrate humility, and know that you're always learning yourself. So just because I'm doing videos now myself, I'm still learning as much as I can.
So what have been the benefits for you physically, mentally, and then how's that transferred to, say, work and other aspects of life?
Physically, I feel on top of the world in terms of my fitness, my aerobic fitness in particular. Interestingly, though, and for anyone who has got into ultras, like I hear it all the time. I go to work, people are like, "You've lost weight, you've lost weight." So I kind of yo-yo between 80 and 85 kilograms. And at the moment, after the 100K, I'm sitting at 79. I know I'll probably go 82, 83 in the next couple of weeks, months, because I'm taking June off. they're definitely the physical benefits. I feel amazing, a lot more energy. I'm up earlier. My routine's a lot better. Because I probably don't train as much as I should, but definitely the mental the mental part of it is just that clarity in your thinking, and it builds your resilience over time. Like I've got a very strong resilience. So things I don't want to do or things I necessarily may not have wanted to do in the past, now it's just like, yeah, I'll do it. I know it sounds crazy, but just like making the bed, some people may not make the bed. And quite often, I talk to my teams about it actually, quite often when you're presented with two choices, there's the easy choice, which isn't the correct choice. There's the right choice, which is the harder choice. And I feel because of the benefits from this and the resilience that I've built, I'll make it the right choice, even though it's the harder one. Where laziness tends to go to the easier choice. And I see that quite often.
So have you always been resilient, or do you believe that this is a skill that has improved?
Definitely improved. I think a lot of it has to do with your upbringing as well. His dad was in the military. My dad, he wasn't so strict with us, but he led by example in terms of the guy would literally go to work 6 days a week. His one day off, he would be cleaning a local community centre at 5 a.m. before the church started. Even now, like he's retired, but I spoke to him last week, and he is now doing everyone's garden and building sheds for them and things like that. He's just an absolute machine in terms of things that he does and takes on, and he never complains. So his resilience learns a lot from him. I couldn't tell you a time where I didn't complain. He's just a phenomenal human being like that. But yeah, myself, through endurance events, it's really helped build that resilience. And if I was to give you an example, going to the 100K last week, 25 kilometres in, I felt a strain in my calf, and I'm like, okay, here we go. Right. So the first thing that came to my head is something that comes to the mind of someone that has a growth mindset or a very resilient mindset. Instead of thinking, oh God, I'm done, this is these sort of words, these negative thoughts, the first thing that comes to my mind is, okay, what can I do? Those 4 words, what can I do? And that is something that I've learned from not just events, but also working in learning and development and applying my circle of influence. So the inner circle is when you're in control, everything's going fine. The second circle is where it's called your circle of influence. So this is where I'm not in control. So I move out to the next circle in my mind, and I'm like, okay, I'm not in control because I've got a strained calf. But what can I do? What can I influence about this? So I can slow my pace down by about 30 seconds. Yeah, I'm feeling okay. I can manage this. I've got 75 kilometres to go. I would say the right word for it is solution finding. A lot of ultra athletes are really good at finding solutions when problems happen. That transfers really well into life as well. So I think over time, through doing so many events, my resilience is just built up to a point where you'd have to snap my leg in half to get me off a course, because anything that happens, I will try and find a solution to get it done. I think that's just helped me in life, in relationships, personal relationships, and everything like that.
What's the worst thing that's happened to you?
The worst thing? On a course, I mean, I've had a problem with my calves all the time. So for me, is very common. Curling calves throughout that, but tripping over, smashing your face, cuts, blood, no real broken bones, but soft tissue muscle injuries. I had piriformis syndrome in my left butt cheek, so the run kind of turned into a shuffle, I would call it. But yeah, I wet my pants once. That was pretty bad. Yeah, so yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. that
So
was,
let's dig into first the piriformis to tell our listener what exactly is that and what sort of things are you going through, and then
yes,
how'd you weigh yourself?
yeah. So the piriformis, it's like a little muscle underneath the glute, so it's really hard to get to. And it's something so tiny yet so debilitating. Like so during the race, I felt something in my butt, something I've never felt before. And I almost had to get through the race with a straight leg, and I was just shuffling it along. And I'm like, once again, I went to, okay, what can I do? I had to kind of adapt my style and how I was running, and I wouldn't even call it a run. The next day, I was in bed, and it was something so small yet so debilitating that I actually couldn't lift my leg up to get out of bed. So I was on crutches, and it seems so silly to have a tiny little muscle in your butt that puts you on crutches. So anyone who's ever performed syndrome knows what I'm talking about. But yeah, that definitely wasn't as embarrassing as when my parents.
Okay, well, tell us a little bit about that. What happened there?
Actually, during the run, it was actually just when I crossed the finish line. I was hydrating loads. It's quite common, really, really hydrating before the race, during the race. I think it was actually only half. Yeah, it was actually only a half marathon, which was surprising because usually my body's fine. But across the finish line, sat on the ground, all my mates are coming over, they're like, yeah, well done. And I'm just like, why can't I stop this? What is going on? Literally lost all, luckily, movement bounce from the front, nothing for the back. So, so yeah, I think learning about the body actually over time and all your muscles all the blood goes away from like your digestive system and areas like this. So one, your food doesn't digest. I guess on that day, I lost all control in that area and just sat down and I'm like, oh, well, it's not going to stop, just finish it off.
Let's just change tack a little bit. What sort of advice would you give now to either those starting out or perhaps have done their first race?
Yeah, I'm a trail runner, which I would encourage people to try trail running. It doesn't have to be an ultra road marathon. But my biggest piece of advice, like something I just mentioned before, is throw time out the window. This is why I'm not a big fan of road racing, because one of the first things that people will say, what was your time? Whereas trail running and ultra marathon running, it's a different type of community. Everyone there's almost like a non-competitiveness to it unless you're an elite athlete. So it's all about enjoying where you are. So my advice would be just get out there, just enjoy it, and really throw time out the window. Don't set yourself a massive goal. And it's something that I think we've talked about previously is don't think that you can't do it if you haven't put in the training. I jumped from 30 kilometres, being my longest run, to a 57-kilometre ultra. Now, I had a training plan in place. We all have lives. We all have families. We all have things going on. We're not elite athletes. I'm a mid-pack runner myself. And I committed to most of my training, but not all of it. And then that planted a little bit of doubt in my mind. And I was kind of like, can I actually do it? The answer is yes, you can do it. As long as you're moving forward and you've got a strong mindset to get through it, you will get through it. So don't feel like you can't do it if you can't commit to all of that training. Try and get some in. And the biggest piece of advice is run slow. If you are doing training runs, if you've got a watch, try and run in your zone 2. You'll find that you're going to be in your zone 3, zone 4. Run slower, believe me. Run slow, put your ego aside. People are going to be passing you. I've had so many people passing me when I'm training for an event. And it's hard to put your ego aside, but you've got to kind of keep that bigger goal in mind. Your training is an endurance thing in itself. You're training for an endurance event. So run slow, keep your heart rate low. Do that probably 80% of the time. It's the 80-20 rule. So, for example, if I'm I might do 4 sessions a month where I'm at moderate to high intensity, but the rest of the month I'm literally just jogging. I'm at a jog, and when I jog, I go a lot further. And then come race day, those races are as strenuous as they used to be, particularly aerobically. Aerobically for me is not an issue anymore. I can run all day. The first thing that's going to happen is sore legs, things like that. But for example, my heart rate over 100k, it tailed off during the day. So I was at about 140, 130, went down to 120. To that back end of my run, I was pretty low heart rate between zone 2 and zone 3. The biggest thing I would say, and the most cliche, but just enjoy it. Enjoy where you are, particularly trail running. I don't listen to music. I like to be one with where I am. You'll find that people, the biggest part of it, the biggest part of the enjoyment, that people, I've made friends just from the weekend. And I think particularly being at our age as well is really, it is actually to meet people and friends. And you know, I'm from Australia. I've been here for years, but I have really close friends here that I think through a very small group of friends. I'm just grateful for the opportunity through these events, meeting so many other amazing people now to the point where I'll turn up to some events and people are like, oh my God, hey, whether they recognize my channel or they recognize my crazy trail running thoughts, it's really good.
Nice one. So tell me what the goal is. I know you're building your YouTube channel, but what's the goal if it's the YouTube channel, or what's the goal for you endurance wise? What are you trying to do?
Yeah, the goal for first off with the YouTube is just to continue to share that knowledge, pay it forwards, and help people as much as I can. Not in any sense of the word trying to be some famous YouTube star. That's not what it's about. For me, it's about inspiring people. Going back to what I said before, a lot of my videos are inspirational type videos. So I continue to do that, and I enjoy doing that. So it's never a chore. And then my goal personally is to continue to run these events. Probably run some more UTMB races. So I just did Snowdonia 3 weeks ago. And continue, what do they call them, the running stones, to collect those running stones, because I'd like to eventually get to Chamonix, France, and run. I don't think I'm ready yet for the 100 mile, particularly 100 mile with elevation. I would like to run a 100 mile, but that would be probably a flat course first, because 102 kilometres is my max at the moment. Both times I've crossed the finish line and said never again. I've got a couple of half Ironmans coming up as well. So balancing the half Ironmans and the ultras, and just continuing to improve. Really, that's my goal, and never worrying about time. Like I said, just to do as many as I can. And it just goes back to what I was talking about before, the benefits that come from it, those physical and mental benefits. So it's about consistency for me. Is just staying consistent with it and enjoying it.
Say you're not enjoying it as much. What's your self-talk like?
Yeah, and that does happen. That'll happen in training. Never really happens in race day because you get those that adrenaline coming through. But particularly winter, I really struggle being Australian. The self-talk is it's actually not from me. It's having good people around you, and my wife, she swims almost every day throughout winter as well. So having good people around you that encourage you and lift you up rather than bring you down. So I'm good at giving myself those talks anyway. That we're all human. We all have those days. I don't suffer from any mental health concerns myself, but we all do have those days. We're human. I mean, some days through winter, whether it's something that happens at work or something that affects you, I've had those days where I've just thought, I just don't want to do it anymore, don't want to do anything. And yeah, it's having those good people around you, which is so important.
What's your top tip then when you have it bucketing down or really cold outside? How do you get out?
You know what? I actually enjoy swimming in the rain because you're just going to get wet anyway. But running in particular, I think I remind myself of how I feel afterwards. You know, getting out there first when it's bucketing down or it's muddy, or so. I actually enjoy the mud anyway. But it's really reminding yourself of how you feel after that. You know, oh wow, I've just got out and done a 5K in, and it's freezing outside. No one else is outside doing this, and yeah, you feel better afterwards. So you just got to remind yourself of those little things. Yeah, it's like I said before, it's just that like making those easy choices and those hard choices, and those hard choices is probably the right choice, but it's not the one that you want to do. It's the harder one, but I know I'm going to feel a lot better afterwards.
Yeah, for sure. I think I heard once that no one ever regrets going out for a run or a workout after the fact. So the hardest part is getting out there. I'm just conscious of how much time we've got. So is there anything you'd like to ask of the audience? Anything at all?
I would just not really ask any questions, but just going back to what I said before, if you're thinking about getting into doing ultra events, they are becoming more common now, and don't doubt yourself. Really, just give it a go. And if you don't like it, you don't like it. That's fine. But it's a great community, like I said, and you're going to meet great people. And I've met so many amazing people. The benefits are just really, really good. So, but also, yeah, if you've got any questions for me, or if you want to follow my channel, please do on Endurance Aaron. You'll find me on YouTube there. I'm just grateful for the opportunity to come on your podcast, Nick. So thank you.
No, I really appreciate it. And yeah, anyone that is listening, check out Aaron on his YouTube channel for sure. There's lots of gold nuggets there if you're just starting out. If you want to learn more about the Ultra Dad community, there'll be a link in the show notes. We've got a community of dads who are interested in health and fitness, but also helping each other with other things that come with and other challenges that come with dad life. So, Aaron, thank you very much for your time, and we'll catch up again soon, I'm sure. Maybe we'll catch up at an event or two in the future.
Definitely. I'm just grateful for you having me on your channel, Nick. I really appreciate it, and it's I think credit to you for what you're doing as well. I was talking before about inspiring others. I think by what you're doing an amazing thing. And we spoke a little bit about mental health awareness and how important it is, particularly for men our age, is getting active and getting out there and meeting people. So, bigger picture, I think what you're doing is an amazing thing.
Well, thank you very much. That's very kind of you. Thanks.